This podcast and broadcast is brought to you by Home Loan Advocates. That's right, my partner David Bartel at Home Loan Advocate. They specialized in distressed property solutions for buyers, sellers, investors, and realtors across the country. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter the situation you're in. If you're working on a distressed property and you need some assistance, call 805-413-8000. Again, that number is 805-413-8000. Ask for David Bartels or visit homeloanadvocates.com. Hi, everyone. Welcome to your weekly coaching broadcast. My name is Lee Honish. I am joined, as always, by David Bartels. For those of you interested in finding out more about everything that I've got going on, content, marketing, media, and now a life-changing 30-day hack, visit leehonish.com. If you'd like back episodes of today, go to leehonish.com. The website's currently under construction, but I think I've loaded up the page itself with enough stuff for you guys to look at. You can reach me as well. You can also, there's a distressed property coaching page. For those that of you, I've never really put it out there, but I found it in the archives and added a link. You can contact David and I both through various sources, including all of our social media. David Bartels is the owner of Help You Sell Full Service Real Estate in the Conejo Valley, Ventura, for those of you who don't know. He is also the owner and operator of Home Loan Advocates. David, take it away. Tell them about all your services and goods.
Well, Help You Sell is going to become Everhome any minute. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. We are checking the DRE website every day, and Everhome is a technology-based real estate company that's designed to be a more consumer-centric model that allows buyers and sellers to leverage technology in order to save money and to improve the experience that they're having. So for those of you that are interested in talking about that or career opportunities, 805-379-3300, 805-379-3300, or David at everhome.io. Everhome.io would be the way to do it. And if you need help with a distressed property, that's Home Loan Advocates. We do more short sales than anybody else I know. Our number is 805-413-8000.
There you go. This call is about distressed properties and real estate in general. It's for homeowners, it's for buyers, it's for real estate professionals, investors, people in the mortgage business. We are spreading our message. I don't want to toot our own horn, but we are kind of the OGs on the topic. I might be the OG of the OG on the topic.
All right, hold on. What's OG?
Wow, David. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody who just took a deep breath and said, David is old and hasn't had children around him in a long time. And OG is a dated term. It's original gangster, David.
I bet that.
Well, you used to see me speak, David. Trust me when I say this. I was an OG. I was very thug-like.
I am not an original gangster by any definition. Old gangster maybe, but not original gangster.
I might be on the topic of short sales and talking about the bank, but we were kind of the first to do it. If this is your first time listening, I know that there's a bunch of brand new marketing that went out on today's broadcast. Today, I want to focus on homeowners, specifically on the topic of COVID. And it came up and somebody sent me a text and, in fact, another notification about this. First of all, if you'd like to find out about advocate marketing, you can go to leehonish.com and find out why there's a coaching group. There's a link. There's a link to advocate marketing. With all of that said, we were talking, the question was, can you go tag in this environment? Yes, I believe you can go tag. I just don't believe you can go meet homeowners face to face. And I'm not sure that anybody would be receptive face to face right now. I think that's the other thing to really commonly address right now. So let's start right there. Let's talk about, we'll get to what happened on Friday, the number of millions of people that are now in eviction crisis. We'll get to that. Let's start with just the basics on homeowners. From your experience, David, right now, talking to homeowners, especially COVID or missed payments or anything that's going on, is it, and I know that we're going to get buyers, homeowners, and buyers on this call. Don't take anything that I say the wrong way. It's me talking as a banker. That's my preface. This is from a friend of mine who said you need to preface what you say before you say something negative. Are they still delusional that they think they're going to keep their house?
Oh, for sure that, but a lot of people are going to keep their house. This is a different setup than 2008, and the things that, and this is really the moment of truth. We'll see really what happens, but between the forbearance program and the federal $600 unemployment stimulus, people have been getting along. But now you've got the Fed money that ran out, and I don't know what the new deal is going to look like. I heard that they were saying they're going to have a deal this week, but I don't know what kind of money that includes. I haven't paid that close of attention. But I do know from an eviction perspective that there is evictions have begun in some states, but in other states they're still not allowed to go. In California, eviction still isn't really an option. And what is very likely, and what we're hearing is going to happen from the banking perspective, is that the banks are shifting their personnel into forbearance mode, very similar to what they did in 2008, 9, 10, and 11, and where it was all hands on deck for loan modification and foreclosure options. And we're going to see the banks get into loan modification mode again, and it's really going to be hurtful to consumers, in my mind, because banks are going to be looking to do modifications and remodify these loans, many of them with significant equity, and is going to take them otherwise good paying mortgages who only had an interruption as a result of COVID and should be able to resume their normal work, their normal income, and resume making payments. They're going to be basically doing a loan modification that's a refinance for 40 years, for 50 years in some cases, and they're going to go from making many hundreds of dollars a month in principal payments to making almost nothing in principal payments, and it's going to set them back from a building equity perspective by a lifetime. And it's really going to ultimately be detrimental. And so what should be a forbearance that should be a simple add it to the end of the payment, or create a balloon note, an interest-free balloon note at the end of the payment that gets paid off as the last payment, you're going to see a lot of people get into a refinance of 40 years or more and completely destroy their ability to make a similar payment and make progress towards actually owning their home or building an equity nest egg that they can use to leverage in retirement.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. What I find most interesting about everything that's going, by the way, if you're a homeowner, I know that this broadcast and the videos are going out to regular homeowner groups. Go to leehonish.com. At the very top, there's a link that if you need help with anything distressed, it's a squeeze page for you, David. I built it just for you.
Thank you.
That's a very technical marketing term. It means nothing negative. It's just good contact information and good information based on our advocacy program. I think I agree with you that many will. What I'm interested in is, how do we reach the group that never wants to be contacted? It kind of goes to Victoria's point of, do we tag? Do we put up flyers? What do we do with this whole situation? And my answer would still be, I don't know why you wouldn't be tagging. I don't know why you wouldn't be pulling information. I certainly would agree. I have not looked at NODs lately, but I guarantee that NODs have increased. The process has not changed. It's whether or not you can evict someone. That's it. That's the only question. The negative reporting is real.
Well, the one thing that we know for sure is foreclosure starts are going to go through the roof. But that doesn't really necessarily mean that we're going to have a lot of foreclosures. So what the foreclosures starts are going to do is be a shot across the bow of the homeowners that's going to force them into action, which is going to lead them to conversations with the bank in terms of what kind of remedy are they going to get to cure their default. Is it going to be a forbearance with a balloon payment? Is it going to be an extension of their loan? Is it going to be a full-blown loan modification? What's it going to look like? I think that you're going to see very liberal terms coming from Fannie and Freddie, which is going to control 60% of the loans. And then you're going to see a mixed bag coming from the other 40%. And a lot of what's going to happen and how stern the lenders are going to be with their collection activity and their modification is going to have a lot to do with whether or not the Fed steps in to help relieve them or subsidize them in a way that allows them to service the mortgages that they have to pay. So these servicers who have to pay on their on the secondary mortgages, these electronic notes that have been slivered up and sold off to investors, what's going to happen with those and how are those payments going to get taken care of? But I don't think it's going to be, I think it's going to be scary, but I don't think the end result is going to be bad, but it's going to definitely stimulate a lot of activity in terms of new listings as people just decide they want to sell, or loan modification, which I think will be, as I said, detrimental to homeowners overall, especially in light of other solutions.
Well, what I find remarkable through this whole thing is there doesn't seem to be good education for homeowners in general. And I think that that's kind of the point, right? Based on my day-to-day activity of surfing and watching and doing social media and doing marketing and watching countless YouTube videos on various topics, I'm actually shocked at the limited amount of information, and good information at that. The real estate community, which should be the advocate portal for a homeowner, doesn't seem to be that right now. I think real estate agents are more consumed with, how do I get the next listing? How do I get the next buyer? What do I do? What do I do? What I do? And the rules of that haven't really changed, except the fact that you've removed their door knocking ability, which seems to have sent them all into a Joker-like tizzy of, I don't know what to do. And I think it's an opportunity to show advocacy, which is at the, I hate to say this, at the core of the National Association of Realtors. Your job as a realtor, realtor, I always get it wrong, and somebody always corrects me, is to be an advocate, right? There should theoretically be an efficacy to doing loans, which in my opinion lacks quite a bit most of the time, but as well as every division of real estate, the point is to be an advocate to that homeowner, and it's not existing. I mean, I know that it took a period of time in 2007, 8, and 9 before the curve caught up, and I really honestly think that everybody's got a very bizarre wait and see attitude, like it's all just going to magically correct itself by the time we get to 2021. And I don't see, when you have two opposing sides so far across the aisle fighting on two separate topics that both have validity. I want to make this abundantly clear. I can see the validity to both sides of the argument. This isn't going to go away, and it's got to carry through, and this is going to affect 2021. This isn't like, oh, next summer everything's going to be fine. Sure, there will be a limited number of real estate properties available on the market that will keep driving prices up, and therefore real estate is okay. That's not the case. We've got a bunch of renters that are going to be an issue on a buyer front, or a renter front, depending on how you want to look at it if you're a property manager. We have a bunch of people that are missing payments, that are borrowing. We talked about this last week, borrowing off of credit cards, using their 401ks, try to keep themselves afloat because they're incapable of calling their bank and making a deal. We have people making loan mods. But at the end of the day, this jumbled mess isn't happening now. This is the start of the jumbled mess. I think this carries through for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and you're talking a recession on top of it. This has some very long lasting. We're not even talking about jobs that no longer exist. And not being able to have face-to-face contact, brick and mortar businesses, and people with the inability to go online and create online businesses to change their pattern and their way of life. These are all very real things that are occurring. And as a homeowner, I said, we talked about this last week. I told my mother, you should cash out a refinance right now and take all the money you can right now, because there's no way to predict a year from today. And if you've got $1 million, get the $1 million. You can always pay the $1 million back, but take the $1 million. And we're strangely at that point where we're at the front of the wave. And I am convinced, having watched social media for a while, there really are two sides to this. There's one side of, yes, it's awful and it's going to get worse. And the other side of the aisle is, you guys are all just screaming that the sky is falling because it's raining. Where do you sit on this topic?
Well, I think part of the challenge is that most people don't know what to do. So, it's not like really a consumer can really do anything other than really take care of their family by doing the best they can do to be gainfully employed. Everything else is really dependent on something else or someone else. And I think that if homeowners, and this includes, professional real estate agents, I think that as individuals, we have to do the best we can to be productive income-wise so that we can take care of our families and then create a trickle-up economy where from there we go out and spend money, and that helps other families, and those families go spend money, and then that helps other families, and kind of reverse the trend from this trickle-down support that we're seeing coming from the federal government and the states. We'll see consumers who do it. Now, the market I live in is in Ventura County. We're blessed demographically. We're not seeing some of the devastating effects of unemployment that you might see in other communities. As a result, my pipeline has never been more full. We've 25 escrows right now with 4 salespeople, basically. We've got a business model that's really consumer centric, and that's really causing a flourish of activity on our part. But I think for the most part, consumers just don't know what to do, and so they really do nothing. And the best thing that we can encourage them to do is go get a job, the best job that they can get, and be upwardly mobile and take care of their personal financial responsibilities, take care of their families, and take advantage of the subsidies that are and incentives that are available to you, and then just do the best you can. And if everybody did that collectively, it would help us get back on track more quickly.
I agree. So let's take a deep breath right there. First and foremost, David, how can people anywhere in California who is an agent, an investor, anyone, a homeowner, a buyer, even a renter, how do they get a hold of you so that they can get some assistance in California?
So you can call me. I'm David, and my number is 805-379-3300. I have to think about that a second. 805-379-3300. David at everhome.io is the email address.
.io. You went .io. Interesting.
You did.
With all that said, if you really want to just go look at it and see some alternatives to foreclosure, if you're a homeowner or if you're a real estate agent, you want information about how to market and be an advocate, go to leehonish.com, leehonish.com. All of our information is there. It's a centralized website that I spent way too many hours on yesterday building. So go visit, enjoy. What's the solution? I mean, what's the solution to reaching out appropriately to, I think Rebecca brought this up on a text, and we talk about advocate marketing. I think now is the best time ever. Go tag a house. You're not making contact with people. Go tag them. Go make contact with people who've missed payments. The question would be, where do you go from there? So let's talk about your online meetings with homeowners and buyers and remote work. How is that a part of your business these days?
Well, we are giving homeowners and home buyers, for that matter, the option to meet with us in person or to meet virtually. So we're expert at all forms of communication. So we're able to do it either way. Most people are interested in the in-person meetings where we, I carry this around everywhere I go. And we are doing some social distance in-person meetings, house showings, but we also have the ability to do all virtual tours for buyers and certainly virtual presentations for sellers. So that's the way we've been doing. We have suspended our tagging, for right now, because the method of interaction and of package delivery is in person, and we've opted not to do that. Not to mention that the banks are basically pushing all foreclosures out, so there's not the urgency to solve the problem that there might be when there's not a foreclosure moratorium.
Well, I would see that as a kind of a problem of luxury for you at the moment. I would say to other real estate agents who have no leads, no life, no listing, do something. I mean, if you can't knock on a door, leave a tag. Change your call center script to let's have a Zoom meeting. Let's talk in your driveway 6 feet apart. Do something.
Well, you got to change the message, because the message is package delivery.
Right.
So, like I'm still getting packages, they're just left. And that's not really, so the messaging has to shift a bit, I think, to make it happen.
I think the simple correction for those of you that are monster marketing people or advocate marketing people, just simply change the script to, we have an online presentation about your alternatives to foreclosure and your missed payments. That's as simple as that. Keep it as simple as possible. We have a couple of questions. Since you cannot visit tag, blah, 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 keep their house, afraid of losing their house, to call us. Yes, you can. Donald, what % of all loans are underwater? I would argue at this moment, and maybe David will have a different answer. My argument at this moment would be that far less than at any point since 2010 are underwater. It's got to be, there is just simply no property available for sale. This looks like 2005 for some reason. This is singularly it is such a seller market right now, it's almost insane, which is why the refinance groups are through the roof. Do you have a different take on it, David?
I don't know the number. I mean, I see our numbers on the short sale business, and most of the transactions that we're working are outside of California right now. So we're seeing very few transactions inside California. Most of them are outside. Las Vegas and Arizona and Texas are where we're seeing most of those, and trickling in Florida. So beyond that, it's really hard to say. But in terms of the number of transactions that are selling short sale in our market per the MLS, it's 1%. So I can tell you that about 1% of transactions are about 1%, but there's certainly more than 1% of homes that are underwater. We're just not recording them because they didn't transact. They might transact if they thought they could do a short sale, but they haven't. So it's hard to say. I think that the number from people who are in distress, from distressed properties, what we're noting is the number is probably 35 or 40% of those people who are underwater. So, but that was pre-COVID. So that was before.
Right.
forbearance, automatic forbearance for everybody in the world. So
Everything
that
is
claim.
everything is pre-COVID. Someone was asking me a question the other day on that topic. I said, pre-COVID, everything was a different story pre-COVID. Everything.
Yeah.
I almost don't think that there's
It's a
an
good
indication.
question. I guess, I should know that number, but I don't. And nobody's really reporting it. The reporting that you see has to do with how it's improving. The percentage of underwater homes is improving year over year over year. And now what you're seeing is the number of people who are taking advantage of forbearance, which I hear is about 8% of homeowners. And if there's 50 million houses with a mortgage, 8% of that is, I don't know, is that 4 million?
Yeah. Based on my math, yes.
Well, I'm gonna figure it out for sure here, but times 0.08, 4 million.
4 million.
Very
Good job.
impressed with myself.
I'm a banker who's never been able to do math, but I kill at Excel. Donald also writes, is there going to be federal interaction before the election? All right, so let's quantify this. I just like using that word.
Well, it's going on right now.
The election has already started, technically. Mail-in has already started, and by the time they do their first debate, I just heard this stat last night, by the time they do their first debate into September, 13 states will have already have done their voting, which is insane to me. This will be the most contested election that we've had in quite some time. So to answer your question, do I think that they're going to do anything before the election? No. Do you have a different answer? But I don't believe they're going to.
No, well, the stimulus package is really what they're doing. I mean,
right.
The stimulus package is really all about the election. So everything that's going on is based on November voters right now. And neither side really wants to be, the party who doesn't support, individuals. And so that's why they're going to be able to get a deal done, even though they have fundamental differences about how they ought to go it. Nobody wants to take a short-term solution and look like the bad guy or the bad team. They'll deal with it after, whatever mess that they make now, good or bad for the U.S. overall long term, good or bad. I'm not saying one way or another because I don't know what they're doing. But I know the deficit is a concern for a lot of people, and they're not really focused on the deficit. They're worried about immediate relief, and after the election, they'll have to figure out, what the long-term impact of COVID really is, and they'll probably spend the next 2 or 3 years trying to sort it out. And like most things political, it'll never get sorted out completely. They're not going to be able to unwind these deals that they did. And I don't know how they, what is it, $3 trillion they're going to end up spending by the time this is over. It doesn't sound like a big deal until you write that number out and you see how many zeros that is.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Just a little.
It might as well be a gazillion, whatever that is.
It's definitely a Dr. Evil number. With that said, Diana Ramirez writes, so I haven't been able to connect to the group with the last few weeks, but just been curious how everyone else in the country is doing. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, it's been an absolute circus with buyers. By the way, it's the same one here, same everywhere else. There's nothing but buyers. Multiple offers.
We've never been busier.
Yeah, the buyer-renter thing is so through the roof that it's almost, it's obscene. And if the renter eviction thing is even in the ballpark of what they're talking about, you're talking, I'm not going to go with the number that they keep quoting, which is like 1.5 million people that are going to be homeless. Let's just go with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. I'm sure they will figure something out. I don't know how. Most don't have jobs, and they were really enjoying the extra $600. Here in Phoenix, it's been an absolute circus with buyers over the last month. So multiple offers on day 0. Offers coming in sight unseen, offers $30K over asking price, and even guaranteeing up to $10,000 out of pocket over appraised value to secure the contract. I can't, in good conscience ask a buyer to do that when I'm fearful market will drop next year. What are your thoughts, David? How far are you willing to go to secure a contract for your buyers?
Okay. Well, I'll just tell you, really directly. First of all, our job as a buyer's agent is to get that transaction for our buyers, to represent them in the way that they want to be represented. We have a fiduciary responsibility to them that includes making sure that they understand the options, including the aggressive ones that we may not be comfortable doing, but to explain to them the options that are available to them to secure the property. There are some schools of thought that focus first, get control of the deal, and then during the inspection contingency, decide whether or not you want to keep the deal or not. And there's a lot of that is going on, and buyers are aggressively getting control of properties, and then they're letting them go after they finally get in or do their due diligence or perform an appraisal or do some of the other things that are taking place. That's the nature of a seller's market. And you as a buyer's agent have a fiduciary responsibility to coach your buyers accordingly. Now, your job is to explain the options. The buyer's job is to make the best decision they can make based on that information. And then your job is to go out and execute to the best of your ability. But as long as your buyer understands the pros and cons of the strategies and the pros and cons of not doing it that way, the more aggressive way versus the pros and cons of doing it the more aggressive way, and then they can make a well-educated decision, then our job is simply to execute on their behalf and to walk them through that process. So that is my perspective from that, maybe more directly than sounding than I intended, but nonetheless, I mean, at the end of the day, our responsibility as an agent is to take the time to find out what our clients want and spend the rest of the time helping them get it, period. Now, that doesn't mean we're unethical. That doesn't mean we cheat or misleading in any way. We can be ethical and do everything appropriately, but we're advisors at the end of the day, and the buyers don't work for us, we work for them. Our job is to help them achieve their objectives, period.
Once again, back to the word being an advocate, which just doesn't get used nearly enough. With all of that said, if you are a buyer or a seller, an agent, an investor, heck, if you're a mortgage professional seeking counsel anywhere in the United States, how do they get a hold of you, David?
Well, they can call 805-379-3300 or email david@everhome.io.
And if you are interested in reengineering your life, I wrote a 30-day hack. I can fix anything now. I cannot believe I'm saying that out loud. Writing it out is going to be the harder part of the actual engineering of it that I scribbled onto a pad and that I've kind of corrected a couple of times, but tested. It's tested on myself. You can re-engineer anything you want in your life, including your business, your life, your weight loss, smoking, drinking. I am convinced that you can re-engineer based on a couple of principles that include marketing and re-engineering. Go to leehonish.com. The link is not quite up on that yet. I'm going to give away the 30-day hack for free. So what I would say is go sign up so that you are the first to get it. I'm not going to take a dime for the 30-day life hack. It is just something that I've used in my life, and it worked. With all of that said, if you're interested in finding out about advocate marketing, if you're a homeowner and you want more information about distressed properties or your alternatives to foreclosure, if you're interested in additional podcasts that I produce or any of that, just go to leehonish.com.